Hey guys, welcome to episode number 2 of the Daily Prompt. My name is Jeff Ballo, and I'm here to help you share with you my journey to help open your mind, expand your imagination, and get you to take physical action toward achieving your goals and aspirations. Now, if you are here after watching episode number 1, you saw the episode 1 yesterday, or you're binging against my advice, and you're watching episode 2 after watching episode 1, and you haven't actually done the exercise at the end of episode 1, and yes, by the way, this is getting a little worse if you haven't seen episode 1. If you haven't actually done it, I urge you to please stop and please go do that. Now, this series is not going to be sequential. The series is not going to be taking you step by step through the whole process simply because I can't, because that's not the way this format works. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that towards the end of this week or early next week, a video that I have sort of planned for that. But in order to talk about what we're going to talk about today, in order to really take today's prompt on board, you kind of need to have done episode 1's prompt. So to recap, episode 1's prompt is to capture the idea in your head, make it tangible, and identify whatever incentive it is that will actually get you to follow through and to overcome whatever obstacles come in your way that you didn't recognize, because when it's the idea in your head, it's all theory, right? When you put it on the page, it becomes reality, and the real world obstacles appear. What is the incentive that's going to push you through that? Now, assuming that you've done that, assuming you actually have that picture clear in your head, today I want to expand a little bit and talk about what I call the master plan. The master plan, I'm jokingly referring to it as the master plan, but ultimately what we're talking about today is your vision and your passion. So if there's one thing that I could share with you, I created a PDF which is free on my website, which is called How to Guarantee Completion of Your Production-Ready Screenplay. And in that, I go through a step-by-step process to help you identify not just why you want to do what you want to do, the thing that you're setting out for, but why is it so urgent that you need to do it now? What is so important about it for you? What are you passionate about? What are you excited about? What's the motivation that's going to push you through and get you to actually follow through now? If you don't have a passion for your story or your idea, if you don't have a vision that you're trying to achieve, ultimately, you're going to fall off the wagon at some point along the way. And I know a lot of you guys want to get right into story and help me expand your story, and we're going to get into that. But I need to give you a little bit of basic framework first, so that we have the right mindset before we jump into this stuff. And when we start thinking about passion and vision are sort of interconnected. It's passion that gives you your vision, and it's vision that gives you your passion. So it's kind of a chicken and egg scenario. So let me give you an example of my master plan, my big picture vision and passion, which hopefully will help you understand how to filter this through your own lens and apply it to your own situation. Now, we talked yesterday about how my goal is to build an independent film studio, how how I think I can achieve that now after years of attempting and failing to do so is to give writers an incentive to go all the way, that will actually produce their films at the end. And then in that way, we start building projects. Now I'm going to go in an upcoming episode soon. I'll go into all that in a lot more detail of the mechanics of how I'm going to do that. But for now, all we need to understand is that that's sort of the goal. The master plan is even bigger than that. If you haven't watched my TED Talk, my perspective on the world is that every single human being on this planet has a story to tell. Every single human being on this planet lives a unique experience. We all see the world through a different window. And because we see the world through a different window, we have different experiences in our lives. We interpret the world that we experience in vastly different ways. It leads each of us to a different imagination. We dream different things. We create different stories in our imagination. And so it gives each one of us stories that nobody else could possibly ever tell. If I said, let's make a romantic comedy with two characters who live on opposite ends of a country, every single person who's watching this video right now will imagine a different situation, a different story. They'll have different themes, they'll have different tone, they'll imagine different types of characters and interactions with different secondary characters. And so it is my belief, it is my contention that every single person on this planet is intrinsically creative simply because of the way that our minds work. Ideas spark ideas, and we all live a different experience. So of course we're all going to have different stories to tell and to share. Now, I don't love writing, okay? It's kind of ironic that I got sort of sent down this rabbit hole because I don't actually love writing. I'm relatively good at it, but sitting down and actually banging out a project, it's not exactly the thing that I love in the world. I would much rather make movies, direct and produce movies. I would much rather take the idea in my head, give it to a writer, have them go write something, come back and go make that movie, right? And I know that there are a lot of people watching this that feel exactly the same way. This series is talking to the people who are going to actually go out and write this stuff, because we need somebody to actually turn the idea into the story. So if I can't find someone to do it, I'm going to have to do it myself, which is okay, which I'm committed to doing. If this plan that I put together, that I explained to you yesterday, doesn't work, well, I'm just going to start making projects myself, and I'll take you through that journey, which is simply you see the goal, you have the idea, you see the reality of that idea. This isn't working out, so how do we get to where we're trying to go? You simply adapt and align. That's how it works. So back to my big master plan. If in fact, as I argue, everyone on the planet has a unique imagination, has stories to tell, and a lot of people on the planet are not so much in love with writing as me. What if there was such a thing as, and I've never revealed this before, but this is actually the big picture goal. What if there was actually such a thing as an artificial intelligence writing partner? In other words, not something that you could feed in some answers to a couple questions and it would create the story for you, but something to where you could interact with this AI writing partner and talk about different ideas, and it would give you prompts, it would give you interactivity to help you create. And actually, it would become a sort of three-dimensional writing space, right? Rather than sitting down going, you could actually talk to your computer. You could actually, if it's virtual reality at some point in the near future, you could go into a virtual reality space and create your story. Now, to actually build something like that, if I put this idea out there, and the reason I never have before is because I know it sounds crazy, but this is actually the goal behind Fast Screenplay since the very beginning. So I've had this idea in my head for over 10 years now. To actually create that is a monumental task, partly because you have to be able to take, the AI writing partner would have to be able to take people through the entire process. It would have to be able to take people through that journey, not just fill in obvious formulaic story, right? So when I started looking around at what's out there in the screenwriting world, and I realized that the vast majority of what's taught is some sort of story formula as its core, that stories must be told like this, which is simply not true. But what is true is everyone has to start with the idea, everyone has to turn it into a story, everyone has to get that into a screenplay, everyone has to refine that into a screenplay that works, everyone has to refine that into a screenplay that lands with the reader the way you want it to land with the reader, and then everyone has to get that into the hands of whoever is appropriate and can say yes to the project and go make it into a film. That process is going to be the same. That process is going to be the core of what an artificial intelligence writing partner would guide you through. Right now, before you get too excited, this does not exist yet. This is a very long way off, simply because the plan that I had, the master plan along the way, didn't work. At the end of the day, my goal was, I'm going to get people to go through Fast Screenplay. As people go through and more people go through, every dollar from every sign up goes right back into it. We expand to version 2, version 3. I always imagined I'd have all the way up to version 9 in my head, and artificial intelligence writing partners of around version 7. Okay, so just to give you a hint of kind of what I was trying to build. The problem is, if people don't have the incentive to go all the way through that, then the success stories don't spread, people don't share the news about it, and ultimately we can't get where we're trying to go. So So, coming back to you and to the prompt and how to filter this and apply this and why I think it's relevant to your life and your situation. First of all, if you have this idea in your head and you've figured out what the incentive is going to be to push you through, what's the next step? You have to understand what your vision is, and you have to understand what the passion is that's going to actually take you all the way. And it has to be bigger than whatever it is right now. So, for example, if you have an idea for a movie, do you just want to make this one movie? If so, why? What's burning inside you to make that happen? If in fact this is just sort of a gateway to a career where you can be creative every day for the rest of your life and you can be making lots of movies, then the idea itself is serving the larger vision, serving the larger picture. Now, as soon as you identify those things and as soon as you start bringing them into reality, the obstacles of the real world are going to hit you in the face. And those obstacles that hit you in the face are going to make it impossible for you to achieve. So what are you going to do at that point? For example, I built Fast Screenplay. I spent literally years building this thing, and then people quit. People didn't follow through. Well, now that becomes my obstacle. That becomes, how do we adapt and align and figure out, okay, well, I still want to get where I'm trying to go because I have the vision, I have the passion, I know what I'm trying to achieve on a larger scale. I want every single person on the planet to be able to tell their unique stories because I believe there's value in all of it for all of us. That's my core belief, right? So my master plan was this. It didn't work. Why didn't it work? I believe because writers didn't follow through. So why don't I now give them incentive? Will that work? I don't know. I'm putting it out there now. I'm going to document the journey. My hope is that as I start making movies, as we start as we start seeing this process through, people will get super inspired. People will come join us, and it will grow and expand in that way. Every dollar goes back into the thing. So we built a version 2, version 3, version 4. Eventually we have this AI writing partner. Now I've been afraid to share that idea with people in the past, even though I've been sitting on this for 10 years, because I've been afraid somebody's going to go out and steal it. And along the way, I come to realize I don't think anybody can steal it because nobody else is approaching creativity from a process base. We're going to talk more about that in upcoming episodes, and you know what? Even if someone did steal the idea, they're not going to steal my way of doing it, right? There doesn't have to be only one AI writing partner out there. Mine's just going to be the best because it's built on a framework core. Does that make sense? All right, in case you're worried, in case you're thinking this is all some upsell, I'm going to explain what the framework is basically starting next week, as we're going to go deep into the process itself, how it works, how you can start to apply it, whether you join me or not. Okay. So please don't worry about those kinds of things. Please understand that I'm trying to give you this big picture and this framework so that you can see how to filter it and apply it in your own situation. Ultimately, that comes back to our prompt for today. If you have identified the goal that you want, the thing that you're trying to achieve, the idea in your head, if you have identified that and you have identified an incentive that's going to push you through, now take it to a bigger picture. What is your overall vision? What is your overall passion? Why do you want to do this? Why must you do this now? If you can identify why you must do this now, why this is not negotiable, why you are not going to quit until you make this real, if you can identify that, then you will have the fuel to get you through the process. I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler, though. That's still not going to be enough fuel to get you all the way through the process. So you need that at least now, because most people who watch this are not going to do these prompts. They're going to nod. They're going to type that they like it. They're not going to actually do these things. And then they're going to fall away at some point. I'm going to pay attention to the comments and see how long people last, right? I'm not judging. I'm not watching in that way. I want to encourage you to get where you're trying to go. So whether you join me, whether you like my journey or not, if you can understand my journey and you can understand why I've built what I've built, it really will be able to be convertible into your own unique application. Does this make sense? So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you understand what today's prompt is. If you have any questions about today's prompt, about the film industry itself, about this crazy ideas that I'm presenting to you, about me, about you, about anything, Pop them in the comments. The more we can engage, the more I can make this about a dialogue between us rather than just me sort of sending you stuff. Probably I'm guessing the first month or so, maybe 2 months, it's pretty much just going to be me here in front of this backdrop talking to you like this, because I feel like there's a lot of ideas and information and perspective that I need to share with you to give you context on this whole journey. But eventually, at a certain point, we're going to start twisting that as we're building your stories and as we're moving forward with all the sort of technique-based stuff and all the little tips and tricks that you're dying for. Ultimately, as we start going down that road and I start working with the writers to actually start making the films, we can get out of this place here. We can start turning this more into a show that takes us places and watches the actual journey unfold. So it's not so much just me talking to you. It's you experiencing my experience or coming along the ride for my experience. So until then, try to wrap your brain around the things that I'm presenting here, if this is interesting to you, if you think this is going to get us somewhere. Because I really do think that if you do follow through and if you do take action, if you take the idea out of your head, make it real, and we make the reasons for it real and tangible. I think I honestly believe that any single person watching this video right now can get wherever they set their minds on going. Anywhere. If you're in India and you have an idea for writing for big Hollywood studios, you can make that happen. It's going to be a long journey. It's going to be difficult. There's a lot of things you have to learn and a lot of nuances along the way. But is it possible? 100%. So we live in a unique era. I'm going to talk more about that as well and how the unique era makes what I'm trying to build actually possible. I'll talk about that in upcoming episodes. But ultimately, whatever your goal is, it is doable. So take action. Don't watch the next video. Just spend 10 minutes. You can spend an hour. You can spend 10 hours. You can go as deep as you want into this stuff. Or you can spend the next 10 minutes taking action. You're going to be moving closer toward your goal than you were yesterday. That's today's daily prompt. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.